Welcome to the Arkaro Insights podcast. We're here to help you, as B2B executives, get better results by exploring the latest thinking in change and innovation within your organization.
And today we're really digging into something pretty crucial.
Absolutely. It's a challenge many of you face, making organizational change actually stick.
Right. Not just launching it, but making it last.
We all know those initiatives, don't we? They start with a lot of energy, maybe some fanfare.
And then they just sort of lose steam, fade away. It's incredibly common.
It really is. So, drawing on Arkaro's experience, we're going to explore a connection that might surprise you.
It's the link between making change sustainable and something you might already have in place or be thinking about.
Integrated business planning, IBP.
Exactly. It's a frustrating fact, but something like, 70% of change efforts don't quite hit the mark. They fail to deliver the results people hoped for.
70% is huge. Why is that?
Well, often the energy goes into designing the perfect change,
Getting the solution right on paper.
Precisely. But what often gets, maybe overlooked, are the nuts and bolts, the structured processes, the two-way communication needed to actually implement it and keep it going.
The how.
The how. And this is where IBP, when it's implemented thoughtfully, because let's be clear, implementing IBP itself is a big change.
Oh, definitely.
It can become this really powerful, maybe underestimated engine for embedding other changes too. It helps turn strategy into reality.
Okay, that's a really interesting angle. Let's maybe start with the framework Arkaro uses for change. I understand it's a 4-stage approach.
That's right, 4 stages. It starts with understand.
Understand, makes sense. What does that involve?
It's all about getting really clear up front, assessing where you are now, the current state.
Please explain.
Exactly. Understanding what your stakeholders really need, not just what you think they need, and then building a compelling case for why this change is necessary.
A case that actually resonates, right? Fits the company culture.
Absolutely vital. If people don't get the why in a way that makes sense to them, you're fighting an uphill battle from day one.
Okay, so understand first. What's next?
Stage 2 is co-create.
Co-create. So working together.
Yes. This is crucial. Arkaro really emphasizes collaborating with your teams, not just telling them, but designing solutions together, tailoring it rather than just dropping in some generic best practice.
Gets that ownership, doesn't it?
It does. And finding those early champions, people who are genuinely excited about the change, getting their buy-in early, that can really make a difference, creates momentum.
Right, those internal advocates. Okay. Understand, co-create.
Then comes enable. This is about equipping people.
Skills, tools.
Yeah, building the necessary capabilities, providing the right tools, setting up processes that actually work and make the change easier to adopt, making it possible for people to do things differently.
Makes sense. Setting them up for success.
But then, as we hinted at, comes the stage where, honestly, many initiatives stumble.
The final stage.
Stage 4, sustain. This is the hardest part for many organizations.
Keeping it going long term.
Exactly. Creating the mechanisms to really embed the changes. Making them part of the organization's DNA, so it's just how things are done. And ensuring it keeps evolving, not just stagnating.
And this is where you see IBP playing a particularly strong role in that sustained phase.
Precisely. This is where the inherent structure of IBP really becomes a powerful ally.
How so? What is it about the IBP structure?
Well, think about the regular cycle of IBP meetings, that consistent cadence, the disciplined process.
The monthly reviews, for example.
Exactly. That framework provides these natural, supported moments for teams to actually use new skills or processes related to the change.
Ah, so it's not just theory.
Not at all.
No.
Those monthly reviews become like practical learning labs, a safe space to try things out, apply new skills, and importantly, a place to openly raise issues or concerns about how the change is landing.
Okay, I see. So the regular IBP cycle itself becomes a practice ground.
It does. And then there's the cross-functional nature of IBP. That's another huge advantage.
Because IBP inherently brings different departments together. Demand, supply, finance.
Right. It necessitates collaboration. You could almost call it forced integration in a good way.
Okay. Breaking down silos.
It really helps when you have demand planners, supply chain folks, product managers, finance people, all in the same regular meetings, looking at the same plan.
It naturally forces coordination for any changes that cut across those areas.
Which most significant changes do, let's be honest. It builds that shared understanding, that collective way of solving problems related to the change.
And I imagine the decision-making aspect of IBP helps too, when roadblocks inevitably pop up during a change implementation.
Oh, absolutely. A well-defined IBP process has clear decision rights. It has escalation protocols.
So you know who decides what and where to go if you hit a snag.
Exactly. It stops things getting stuck because nobody knows who owns the decision. And it also elevates a key group, mid-level managers. IBP really positions them perfectly. They become these crucial strategy translators.
Strategy translators. I like that. What do you mean?
They're the ones who take the high-level change objectives and make them real for their teams. They interpret the big picture into practical steps.
Connect the what and why to the how on the ground.
And they have to balance that strategic direction with the day-to-day operational realities. They're the linchpin, really.
Okay, so IBP's structure enables change through skill practice, collaboration, clear decisions, and empowering middle management.
That's a good summary of the enabling part.
You said the real power, especially for sustain, comes from its rhythm. Let's talk about that.
Yes, the rhythm, that predictable cadence, usually monthly. This is a powerful antidote to what people call initiative fatigue.
Where everyone just gets tired of another new project.
Exactly, because change initiatives are often seen as extra work, right? Something bolted on top of the day job.
Another thing to track, another meeting to attend.
But if you integrate the change activities into the regular IBP cycle,
It becomes part of the normal routine.
it stops feeling like an add-on and starts feeling like just, well, how we operate now. It's folded into the existing business rhythm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the sequence of IBP reviews must help too. That flow from, say, product to demand to supply.
Absolutely. That sequence builds in natural accountability. You have these regular check-ins. How are we doing against the commitments we made last month regarding this change?
Built-in progress tracking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because IBP constantly reviews planning assumptions.
Like market forecasts or capacity constraints.
You have this ready-made mechanism to test if the change is actually delivering what you expected. Are the assumptions we made about this change holding true?
So you can spot early if it's not working as planned.
And make adjustments. It becomes a continuous improvement loop.
Yeah.
That whole plan, do, check, act cycle is basically embedded in the monthly IBP process, allowing you to refine the change based on real-world feedback.
Okay, so let's walk through the typical IBP steps. How does each one specifically help enable and sustain change? Starting with, say, the product review.
Right. The product review, it directly connects any change initiative to your product strategy. Is this change supporting where we want to go with our products? Is it reflected in the portfolio planning?
Ensures alignment with the core business.
Definitely. Then you move to the demand review.
Looking at the forecast, customer needs.
Yeah. This ensures the change stays aligned with the market. Is it meeting evolving customer needs? If the change impacts customers, this is where you'd see the early signals in demand patterns or feedback. Keeps it market focused.
Good point. Then the supply review.
That's about operational readiness. Do we actually have the capability, the capacity, the resources to execute and sustain this change operationally?
The reality check on the ground.
Exactly. It helps make sure capability development is realistic and you're not undermining operational stability while trying to change.
Okay. Product, demand, supply. Then integrated reconciliation. That sounds important for cross-functional changes.
It's critical. This is the forum specifically designed to iron out those cross-functional wrinkles. Sales and ops not aligned on how the new process impacts lead times. This is where they hash it out.
Resolving barriers collaboratively.
Sustaining that collaborative problem solving, essential for making change stick across functions.
And finally, the management business review, or MBR.
The capstone. This provides that senior leadership visibility and decision-making. Are resources being allocated correctly to support the change long-term? Is leadership visibly demonstrating commitment?
So executives stay connected and keep reinforcing its importance.
That visible, consistent sponsorship from the top is just indispensable for lasting change. Without it, things tend to drift.
Okay, this paints a clear picture of how IBP can be this powerful engine.
Yeah.
But how do organizations make this happen practically? What are the concrete steps?
Good question. Arkaro's experience points to a couple of really key things. First, be intentional about embedding the change initiatives directly into IBP.
Meaning, put them on the agenda.
Yes. Make updates on key initiatives a standard agenda item in the relevant IBP review meetings. Discuss progress, roadblocks, what support is needed.
So it's not a side conversation, it's part of the main event.
Exactly. It ensures everyone involved has input, has visibility, and crucially, track change-specific KPIs right alongside your regular business KPIs on your IBP dashboards.
So you're measuring its impact as part of routine performance management.
You integrate it fully. It becomes part of how we measure success around here, not some separate scorecard that gets ignored.
Making change part of business as usual. Okay, that's one practical step. What else?
The other big one is establishing really clear communication rhythms around the IBP cycle. It's not just about the monthly meetings themselves.
What kind of rhythms?
Well, define touch points between the formal meetings. For instance, ensuring mid-level managers consistently connect with their teams after each IBP cycle.
To cascade information. Share decisions.
Yes, communicate course corrections, explain the why behind adjustments, and also, really importantly, to celebrate successes, even small ones. Keep the motivation up.
Reinforcing the positive momentum.
Definitely. And then you need structured ways to get feedback flowing upwards. Formal listening channels.
So frontline teams can share challenges they're facing with implementation.
Precisely. Real-time practical issues. And you need clear protocols for escalating those issues if they can't be solved locally and need higher-level visibility or decision-making.
Closing that communication loop, top down and bottom up.
It's essential for making adjustments and ensuring the change actually works in practice.
It really does seem to come back to that core idea. Successful, lasting change isn't really about a big launch event.
No, it's about the follow-through.
It's about how well those new ways of working get woven into the fabric of the organization, into the daily and monthly routines.
And by consciously using the structure, the collaboration, the rhythm that's already built into IBP.
You're essentially leveraging an existing vehicle to drive and sustain that change. You're creating those natural mechanisms for maintaining momentum.
Exactly. And that aligns perfectly with Arkaro's Do It With You philosophy. It's about working with organizations to integrate their four-stage change approach into your existing planning processes, like IBP.
Especially focusing on that critical sustain phase.
That's often where traditional change efforts falter, isn't it? The focus shifts, the energy wanes. Using IBP helps build that staying power.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about today. We've taken a deep dive into how integrated business planning, maybe unexpectedly for some, can be a really powerful catalyst.
Both for driving change initially and perhaps more importantly for sustaining it within B2B organizations.
We've walked through Arkaro's 4 stages: understand, co-create, enable, and sustain, and seen how the structure and rhythm of IBP provide that essential framework.
Helping you move beyond just that initial burst of enthusiasm.
Towards change that is truly embedded, impactful, and lasts.
So if you want to learn more about how Arkaro could help your organization leverage these kinds of insights for better results in change, innovation, strategy,
Where should people go?
please visit our website at arkaro.com. That's arkaro.com. Or feel free to connect with Arkaro on LinkedIn.
Great resources there. And if you have specific challenges you're grappling with right now and perhaps want to explore a free consultation,
Then please do email Mark Blackwell directly. His email is mark@arkaro.com.
mark@arkaro.ro.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing these insights today.
My pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in to the Arkaro Insights podcast. If you found this discussion helpful, please do share it with colleagues who might also benefit. We'll see you next time.